Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to our free webinar sponsored by MedExam Expert. Today, we have two topics. First, the subtopic, which is how to crack MRCOG in 5 months, the reasons why students fail, and the eligibility deadline. I know you are all here because you are interested to take the MRCOG Part 1 exam. And the second topic will be the four major genetic syndromes. Okay. So welcome again. I'm Dr. Desiree. I'm your mentor for today. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, Dr. Desri, welcome to the session. You are very audible.
Hello, Anam. And the screen is visible, Anam?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay, let's start. First of all, we are very, very happy to congratulate all those past students for our last batch. And I know it's very difficult because the passing is very high. Uh, Usually the passing will be 50 plus 60. Now the passing is 68, but we still have a lot of students who were able to pass the exam. Our passing percentage is high also, although there are some students who failed, and maybe this is not just the perfect timing, but don't give up. Okay, there's no denial, there's only delay. So once you enter this and you decide to take this exam, you have to focus, okay? And remember that you don't have to blame anyone for your failure, okay? Don't blame your situation, don't blame your family for not giving you time, don't blame your courses, your mentors, because this is all upon you, okay? We are here to guide you, but stop pointing fingers and then you imagine how what are the mistakes that you did in the exam. Remember, guys, we are here to support you and we are giving you the same course, we are giving you the same syllabus, we are giving you the same platform. So come to think of it, why some students fail and why some students pass. So this is not, it's not in the system, it's on yourself. Maybe there's something wrong or your situation did not allow you. And the very first reason is that maybe it's not yet your time to pass. It's just like having a baby, right? Maybe sometimes you have all some women out there have all miscarriages, and then after, I have one patient yesterday, 11 years infertility. Okay, she did everything. She did failed. She failed IUI. She failed in vitro fertilization, and the other clinic already did hysterosalpingography, and then she came to me. Okay, I just tell her stop everything and then relax. And now, subhanallah, the patient is already pregnant. Now she come to me yesterday, 6 weeks, with heartbeat. Okay, and everyone in the family, the husband, the mother of the husband is crying in my clinic. I did nothing. I just review her history and I just tell her to stop. 11 years she's been trying. I tell her to relax. See, sometimes you don't know what's the reason, okay, why you did not get pregnant for 11 years. And then now that you did not do anything, you get pregnant. So this is beyond your control. Everything is from God. You should remember that. So again, I'm Dr. Desiree. I cannot open my video, but okay. So how to crack your MRCOG Part 1 in 5 months. So this is a strategic blueprint for the first attempt success. So inshallah, you take it in one go. Okay, so we will discuss on strategy, mindset, and concept mastery. So why do candidates fail? Aside from those things as I've mentioned. So you enroll in our course. For example, you enroll in our course. We provide you a vast library, but you did not even touch. I see a lot of students like this, okay? There are a lot of recorded sessions in the pre-course. We give sessions, live sessions. We give flashcards. We give recalls, okay? But they fail to utilize this vast library that is being provided to them. They just depend on recalls. And time again, I always tell my students or our students that recalls, even if they are repeated, they will only comprise 30 to 50% of the exam. So remember, guys, 30, the worst, 50, the most. So 50%, it's still lacking, okay? You cannot pass the exam by just 50% of memorizing recall keys. See, the passing percentage is 68. So where will you get the 18% more? That will be from your foundation, okay? Second reason is what I'm telling you, the recall trap. Some students, even if they have a lot of books beside them, a lot of notes posted in the walls, okay, they still are trapped in these recall keys. They cram recall keys. So a lot of recall keys are wrong. Even the recall keys that you find in the public group, I'm not saying that our recall is 100% perfect. Our recalls also have flaws. However, our recalls has been checked by some mentors, including me and all the mentors, okay? But you see, the guidelines changes. The recall should be treated as guide. Me and Dr. Helmi, we don't trust the recall keys, okay? The recall is just a guide for you to understand what topic or to know what topic is you have to study, the topic that you have to study during the course. You don't have to memorize recall keys. So this is the most common problem. They cram, even if they studied with us, during the last revision phase, the last minute, they join a lot of social media. So they cram recall keys even if that is wrong. And then they will ask us, Ma'am, why in this group they said this is the key? Even if we already told them what is the correct, they still insist the recall key that they got from the public group. So don't do that, guys, okay? Third, you will not be trapped in the recall keys if your foundation is strong. So that means your foundation is shaky. So you enrolled in our course so that your foundation will be strong. So we guide you through to build your concepts, not just to memorize the recall keys. So if you don't build your concepts with us, if you don't follow the strict schedule given to you by us, your foundation will be shaky. And if you find a question that is confusing, then you get confused more. Okay? The fourth reason why candidates fail is distraction. They join too many social media platforms. They join Telegram, they join WhatsApp, they join Facebook. So joining too many social media platforms is confusing. Okay? So I'm not saying not to join because we also give free social media platform. But once you are enrolled in the course, you should only join the group that is provided to you by MedExam expert. Okay. The fifth reason why students fail is too much information. Okay. The problem is you read thick books in the first phase. Okay. And the problem is you don't get to retrieve it. So putting too much information in your brain is useless if you cannot retrieve it during the exam. So there are techniques on how to retrieve these informations, okay? And we will tell you that during the course. And 6, mindset, okay? I know it's very, very difficult to, because the syllabus for MRCOG is very vast. So we cannot avoid having fear, anxiety, and overthinking. But we have to control our emotions so that we can maintain our composure. Remember, when you encounter a simple question and you overthink of the answer, then it will lead you to the wrong answer. Okay? So this is the most common 6 reasons why candidates fail. Okay, so again, I would like to emphasize the trap of the recall keys. So this is the wrong way to memorize the recall keys. So if you have already taken the part 1 and you are here to take it again, or if you're in the first time taking it, so one of the most common confusion every time, every batch, even if I said it, I'm also your mentor for microbiology, okay? Even if I stress that, guys, the color of Pseudomonas in McConkey agar is greenish brown. Okay, I emphasize this during my session, and the most common catheter associated infection or UTI is E. coli, the most common cause. And then they will join social media platforms, and then they will see, Ma'am, in other group they said that the color of Pseudomonas in McConkey agar is colorless. Okay, why there is confusion? McConkey agar differentiates lactose fermenter from non-lactose fermenter. If a bacteria is non-lactose fermenter, it will be colorless. If a bacteria is lactose fermenter, it will be color pink. Okay, Pseudomonas is a non-lactose fermenter. That's why they think it's colorless. But remember, guys, even if you search Google or you search ChatGPT, Pseudomonas produces this very specific color, which is which is because of the pyoverdine or pyocyanin. That's why, even if it is a non-lactose fermenter, the color that will appear in the McConkey agar is neither colorless or neither pink. The color that will appear will be greenish blue, greenish brown because of this is very specific color that Pseudomonas produces. Okay, so this is the reason why even if you just join the group, they will not explain to you because this is a public group. It's not their responsibility for you to know the correct answer. Okay, it is your responsibility to search. But during our course, we clear all this confusion. We explain why this is the answer, why this is not the answer. Some people, because they are trapped of the recall quiz, they will answer colorless, colorless. That's why this question keeps repeating on every batch of exam because you will notice if you see recalls, you will see some questions that are consistently being repeated during all the batches of the exam. Why? Because of the confusion, okay? Because of the confusion. Second, catheter-associated UTI. I always tell my student, when it comes to UTI, it should always be E. coli. Don't confuse yourself. Choose E. coli, okay? You will not only choose E. coli if the scenario says UTI in sexually active young women because it will be Staphylococcus subprophyticus. Okay, so why they get confused? Because they think this is catheter associated. They think this is a hospital acquired. So they think it's Pseudomonas. Okay, so this is what we learn from our practice. When it is hospital acquired, it is always Pseudomonas. No, wrong. Okay, so UTI is always E. coli, guys. Okay, whether it is domiciliary or hospital acquired or catheter associated or what you call your CAUTI. Okay, so the strategic way, guys, mentors are also humans, can make mistakes, and recalls are not perfect guides. That's why we are here to together to destroy this misconception. Okay, you just not have to rely on your mentors, or you just not have to rely on recalls. You have to take your part, okay, yourself. Okay, you have to study more, not just accept what your mentors say, not just accept what the recalls say. It's good if we have argument, because when we have arguments, we remember the things that we argue upon. Okay, and if you encounter that argument in the exam, you will remember the answer. Your knowledge is the best key. Retrieval is more effective than rereading. So in the first few months or the first 2 months of the course, okay, this is the foundation course. You will have the syllabus and first read of all the thick books. Okay, and during the 3 to 4 months, the third or fourth month, so first 2 months, January and February, 3 to 4, April and May, okay, and on the 5th month, June, on the third and the fourth month, this is your deep dive. That means you don't have to read thick books. You have to update your notes and you thin your notes. Some things that is not important, you have to remove it. And on the 5th month, this is the marathon or the sprint. You have to revise your notes and you have to revise SBAs, not just recalls. Okay, you have to practice SBAs. Okay, so the first 2 months, you have to organize the chaos. You still have a lot of time. So you have to organize everything, your notes, put it in a folder. So these are just 10. There are 12 subjects, okay? I don't see genetics here and pharmacology. So you have to organize them into folders, okay? Know the exam syllabus inside and out. Perform a relaxed first reading while taking notes and organize your notes into folder for easier revision. On the third and fourth month, you have to refine and focus. The raw notes or the first notes that you read, you have to focus on the second reading and you have to thin it. Okay? And follow a concise study schedule, which will be provided to you by MedExam expert if you will enroll in our course. Okay, so create a concrete study schedule. This we do for you. Execute a focus second reading. This you will do for yourself. And critical, update and thin your notes. Also, this will be you will do for yourself. Okay, and 1 month to go. This is the panic time, the panic mode, or the revision phase. Read only notes, no new books. Okay, no thick books. Read past papers. See, past papers are important. Okay, but why you read only the past papers in the last? Because you have to build your foundation first before you go to the recall phase. Okay, review previous exam question. Review. Okay, it's not saying memorize the recall keys. Okay, and practice single best answers relentlessly. When you say relentlessly, every day you practice at least 10 to 15 to 20 questions every day. Shift from input reading to output retrieval. So, what does this mean, output retrieval? Okay, for example, you read a lot of things about staphylococcus, okay? Or you read a lot of things about anatomy of the abdomen. Okay, you don't have to open your books, close your books, okay? And then write everything that you can remember about staphylococcus. So, what is the shape? Is it a cocci? Is it gram-negative, gram-positive? What is the treatment? Write it in a blank piece of paper without opening your notes. So, the less you can write, that means the less you can retrieve. If you write more, that means you can retrieve more. Okay? For example, anatomy of the abdomen. So, you write everything here, the layers of the abdomen, what are the blood vessels or the nerves that pass through these layers. If you cannot write anything, guys, that means you cannot retrieve anything. Okay? If you can write a lot, then that's good. Okay? So if you cannot retrieve anything, then that's not a good that's not a good point. So you have to revise again. So now let's go to the eligibility guideline, which will be ending on March 10. Okay? So this is the summary. Okay, first you have to determine if you have not applied for your eligibility, you have to apply now, guys. Okay, because it will take 4 weeks minimum processing time after you submit before they give you eligibility. And if you are intending to do the exam by July, you don't have to wait for your for the end or the deadline. Okay, so first check, do you need to submit an application? If you're a new time or first-time candidate, yes. Okay. If you are a returning candidate, no. You are already eligible. Okay. Eligibility is only applied once. It is not like expression of interest. Okay. Expression of interest, you do it every exam. Okay. Second, if you enter the website, you will see they will ask you to tick one of these. Are you a GMC registered candidate or not? Okay, and then you will follow those pathway. So if you are GMC registered candidates, you have to have a college account number. That is the 6 digits found in your account. You have to have your GMC registration ready and a scanned copy of your government issued ID. Okay, so remember, this is a critical requirement. The government issued ID that you will submit, whether it is your passport, should match the name in your GMC registration number or your license, okay? Because there should be, if there's a difference between your maiden name and your married name, then you will be required to to submit a document which is your marriage certificate. Okay. For non-GMC candidates, it's the same. You have to have your RCOG account number and government issued ID. But there's a difference. You have to have your medical registration number from your home country. Okay, this is the primary qualification proof. Okay, you also have to have it. You have to have the scan photo of your primary medical degree. Primary medical degree, not your specialty degree. The degree medicine, the medical degree. Okay, and again the same. The name should be matching, the certificate should be matching the government issued ID, and the name in your college account. Okay, so if you enter if your primary qualification is your maiden name and your RCOG account number is your maiden name, okay, and then you you are married now and you have your government issued ID. So in the exam, you have to show your marriage certificate, or maybe you have to upload it in advance. Okay. The problem is if you use your married name in the college account number, you cannot change. It's more difficult to change your primary qualification certificate. Okay. So if you are torn between which one to submit, whether your maiden name or your married name, I suggest that you submit your maiden name and then you just give your marriage certificate during the exam, or upload it in your file in your college account. Because if you submit your married name, it's more difficult to prove that you are the one having that primary qualification name. Okay. So the golden rules of documentation: the language should be in English, the scan photo should be legible, okay? It must be clear copy, okay? And the originality: the scans should be photocopies of the original and not photocopies of a photocopy, okay? Because this will delay your eligibility if this is not being followed. So for language, you have to have official translation, okay? Official language translation. And for certificates, it should be certified by a third party, not you or not your relative. Okay? So who can certify your documents? Notary public, of course, commissioner of oaths, justice of peace, okay, or your Department of Justice, solicitor general, or the most easy one is your embassy or your consulate official. And the name of the one who certified it should appear in the certification, the signature, and this attestation phrase should be legible. It is a true copy of the original. Okay? So again, certifier cannot be a relative. You cannot certify documents yourself, and name discrepancies without proof is not allowed. Avoid these red flags. So as I mentioned, you have to submit your marriage certificate. And sometimes some people here in Saudi Arabia, if they don't like their birth name, they change their name. So you have to have the proof that you changed your name, that you are one and the same person. Okay, so this is the timeline for the June 2026 exam cycle. So on Tuesday, March 10, 2026 is part 1 eligibility deadline. So imagine if you will submit on on March 10 and there is you are planning to give expression of interest on March 24, it is not possible. Why? Because you have to have a 4-week processing rule. Okay? So from the time you submit your eligibility, there should be 4 weeks interval before you express your interest. Remember, eligibility comes first before your expression of interest. Okay? So if it is less than 4 weeks, it's very, very risky. Okay? So March 24, expression of interest closes. So by now you should submit. So you still have how many? You still have 4 weeks if you submit by now. And on Tuesday, the booking windows open. Tuesday, April 21. June 2, booking window closes. No one can book the exam without the eligibility and the expression of interest. Okay, the expression of interest, as I've mentioned, for every exam you have to apply even if you are already eligible. And the exam is on June 30 and the result 30 days after that. So it will be released on the 29th of July. So recommendation: do not wait for the deadline. Submit as soon as your documents are ready, certified, and already translated. Okay, so if you're ready to apply, then you have to have a confirmed eligibility. Okay, so you have to select again. This is just a summary: non-GMC or GMC. Certify the document, submit early, and then start your application. Okay, guys, do you have question for this topic? Because if not, we will proceed to our main topic in genetics. This is very, very short, very, very complicated, very, very interesting topic. Sometimes, I know some of you guys doesn't want genetics.